Oh, hello. Welcome to Sara Gonzales. Sorry, I just had to take a drink of liberal tears. They taste so delicious, especially the ones from Jimmy Kimmel. And if you haven't heard yet, which I'm sure you have, unless you're living under a rock, if you haven't heard yet what happened to poor little Jimmy Kimmel, well, he had a little case of F around and find out from the comments that he made on Monday night's show. We played them yesterday. We're going to play them one more time as a refresher. Here's what Jimmy Kimmel had to say after the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
Trying to characterize him as anything other than one of them. A new low for the MAGA gang. Now, obviously, this is like a blatant lie because everything that we've heard from anyone who has anything to do with the case, including the shooter's own parents, have said that he was a radicalized leftist. But we do have some immediate reaction to those comments from Jimmy. Instead of the angry finger pointing, can we just for one day agree that it is horrible and monstrous to shoot another human? That comment didn't age well for Jimmy. We also have, I'd like to just go ahead and throw up this next tweet. Rather prophetic. Charlie Kirk from 2017, Jimmy Kimmel isn't funny. Which he was right. Jimmy Kimmel is not funny, which is why this whole thing is so hilarious. So what happened next after Jimmy's disgusting, despicable comments? The FCC chair, Brendan Carr, said that he was looking into the statements, but before anything like that could happen, Nexstar, this is a company with dozens of local stations around the country, decided that they were going to preempt Jimmy Kimmel on all of their affiliates. And then you're looking at all of these affiliates decide that they're not going to play Jimmy Kimmel, and ABC decided to suspend Jimmy Kimmel indefinitely. Now, remember, I just named two private companies that have nothing to do with the government or government entities that decided that actions have consequences, that behavior has consequences, that freedom of speech, remember, freedom of speech protects your right to speak from the government. It doesn't protect your right to say heinous, disgusting things about innocent people being assassinated and have no consequences. And so, obviously, this has nothing to do with President Trump. They're like, oh, President Trump is canceling people. President Trump is canceling comedians. No, ABC decided that they didn't want Jimmy Kimmel to have a show until they decided otherwise, which as an employer, they have a right to do. Now, that being said, President Trump did celebrate a little on Truth Social, which good for him. Great news for America. The ratings challenge Jimmy Kimmel's show is canceled. Congratulations to ABC to finally having the courage to do what had to be done. Kimmel had zero talent and worse ratings than even Colbert, if that's possible. That leaves Jimmy and Seth, two total losers on fake news NBC. Their ratings are also horrible. Do it, NBC, President DJT. And by the way, we'll throw in JD Vance's. This was pretty funny. Everyone, please congratulate Marco Rubio, the new host of ABC's late night show. Of course, poking fun at the fact that Marco Rubio has like 4 jobs now with the White House. And they haven't relieved him of any of those. But you have the Democrats absolutely melting down, crying, saying that President Trump is, oh my God, he's cracking down on free speech. President Trump is now canceling people. Free speech. I thought that conservatives loved free speech. Let's take Obama, for example. He tweeted out, after years of complaining about cancel culture, the current administration has taken it to a new and dangerous level by routinely threatening regulatory action against media companies unless they muzzle or fire reporters and commentators it doesn't like. Which I did see, we don't have this, but I did see Roseanne's response to that, which was, oh, okay, well, do you want to tell people about the fact that you basically called Disney to have me fired? Because that happened. So I'd like to play a little bit of these meltdowns from all of these leftist whiny little bitches who still can't seem to comprehend what free speech actually is and what the First Amendment protects them from. Let's start with Van Jones. Let me play for you, Van, the world's smallest violin, you little bitch.
This is a red line that has been crossed for our industry, for the First Amendment, for the right of people to speak. There was nothing hateful about what was said, and even hateful speech is protected. This is not acceptable. If you are going to run a media organization, it's called a news organization, you have to stand up to government bullying anywhere in the world, and certainly in the United States.
Well, the job should be to, speak truth to power, even when there are people who don't like the word truth anymore.
Oh, like you, Aaron, what's her face? What's her name again, Stephen?
Burnett.
Aaron Burnett. I'm sorry, that was rude of me. I think Aaron what's her face suits her better. All of a sudden, they want to talk about, Jimmy Kimmel he's just speaking truth to power. Please tell me what he said in there that was even true. It's demonstrably false, but they can't help themselves. Let's move over to Don Lemon, who had to be canceled for his own comments. Here, let's listen to Don Lemon. Don Lemon would like a word. I know you guys have forgotten about him already. He's very upset about that, so he'd like to enter in this conversation.
This is the same party, the same group of people who complained about everything is too woke. Comedians can't say anything anymore. They're killing comedy. The folks who are complaining about killing comedy are killing comedy. The folks who are complaining about canceling people are canceling people. What does that tell you? That they don't believe in anything that they're saying, that they've said, that they have no core. All it is if it doesn't fit their particular ideology or belief, then they don't want to hear it. And that's the moment that we're in now. This is a very dangerous and scary moment for America. This should send a chill or a shiver up every American spine.
Yeah, no, you know what is a dangerous time for America and should send a chill and a shiver down all of America's spine is the fact that you can be killed in broad daylight, publicly executed for your beliefs because you believe differently than a radical leftist. That actually, Don Lemon, should I say Don Lemon, should send chills down every American spine, not the fact that the very unfunny Jimmy Kimmel actually got what was coming to him. And remember, I'm a conservative, so when I say that, I just mean he got fired. I don't mean he got killed like you guys mean when you say it. By the way, it's interesting that they say anything about comedy. I'm going to have a comedian on later, a comedian many of you know, and I'm going to ask him because I can't tell where the punchline is in that silly little joke. He's just a comedian. What is comedy? Comedy's canceled now? Where was the joke? Where was the punchline in what Jimmy Kimmel said? Of course, it wasn't a joke because he's a fake comedian. He's not even funny, but that comment was not a joke. Now let's move over to Representative Eric Swalwell, who he was like, boy, what a beta. I think he almost started crying actually over this whole situation. And he had some suggestions on adding more amendments to the Constitution so that we can protect little Jimmy Kimmel next time.
Every night has a right to come into any house that wants to watch and entertain Americans, just as Greg Gutfeld on Fox has a right to be not funny and go on his network.
Everyone
and
has a right to be on
Americans.
TV now?
It's a part of who we are, John, and frankly, it should shake every American that the President of the United States is out there firing comedians who make fun of him. That is not who we are, and every American should care and stand up to this.
I mean, I can't believe these people can look themselves in the mirror anymore with any sense of like, oh, God, yeah, I am so right. And, you know, it's just laughable. These people have absolutely no values. These people have absolutely no morals. Let's talk about what happened to Alex Jones. Remember, Alex Jones was sued into oblivion for sharing his opinion over a shooting. Now, you don't have to agree with his opinion, but they sued him into oblivion, fined over $1 billion for sharing an opinion. So they want to try to call us out on so-called hypocrisy when the hypocrisy is their own. Now, I'm not crying wolf like them. I have the receipts. Okay? Yeah, there's the headline from Harrison Smith over at InfoWars. Texas judge orders InfoWars liquidation to pay Sandy Hook families almost $1.5 billion for words. And they want to cry about Jimmy Kimmel. So let's play Chuck Schumer on CNN last night.
This is just despicable, disgusting, and against democratic values. Trump and his allies seem to want to shut down speech that they don't like to hear. That is not what democracies do. That is what autocracies do. And it doesn't matter whether you agree with Kimmel or not. He has the right to free speech. And so it is just outrageous.
Does not have the right to be on public airwaves,
sir. It is indicative of autocracy. And I am just outraged by it. Again, this is what dictators do. This is what Xi would do. This is what Putin would do. We are not that country.
Would do. This is what Xi Jinping would do of China. This is the Chinese Communist Party in action here in America. Now, let me just channel that energy for a second, okay? And let me take you back to Chucky Schumer from 2023 when the conversation was whether or not Fox should cancel Tucker Carlson for his opinions.
These lies continue tonight. Rupert Murdoch, who has admitted they were lies and said he regretted it, has a special obligation to stop Tucker Carlson from going on tonight now that he's seen how he has perverted and slimed the truth, and from letting him go on again and again and again. Not because their views deserve such opprobrium, but because our democracy depends on it.
Oh, our democracy depends on shutting people up, except when there are people. And then it's unheard of. We are basically China now, if you're believing any of the bullshit that Chucky Schumer is spewing. But I'm not done. Let's go over to Rachel Maddow or Chris Hayes or Mark Cuban. I can't remember. They all look the same to me. From MSDNC first. Last night talking about Jimmy Kimmel. And then let's do a little now and then talking about 2023, talking about Tucker Carl's canceling. But first on Jimmy Kimmel.
ABC made the announcement Kimmel would indeed be taken off the air indefinitely. And this is just the latest chapter in Donald Trump's ongoing campaign to crack down on free speech, dominate the media, and essentially render the First Amendment meaningless. So it was for the journeyman cable news host Tucker Carlson, just fired from his third network. He believed he could say anything, no matter how vile, no matter how disgusting, no matter how offensive, no matter how dehumanizing or belittling. And if you act like a sociopath over and over and over and over, you will become unpopular on the national stage. That's just like a basic principle. Over time, probably not going to work out well for you in the long run. Eventually, people will be rightly offended, disgusted by it.
Yeah. If you immediately spew a bunch of lies and incorrect and false rhetoric about an innocent man who was publicly executed in front of a bunch of college kids, you're probably a sociopath who deserves to be deplatformed. I agree with that woman. For once. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't show you the Jimmy Kimmel on Tucker Carlson when he did, in fact, get fired at Fox.
Fox News has severed bow ties with Tucker Carlson. After all these years, they are parting ways, which means he was fired. I mean, that's really what parting ways means. Tucker couldn't be reached for comment. He's already on a plane to Moscow to meet with his manager. But what a shock. I mean, what an absolutely delightful shock this is. Now Tucker can spend more time at home tanning his testicles and touching himself to that sexy green M&M. Sadly, he's probably not done poisoning old people's brains. The question now is, where will he do it next? Will he go to OAN? Will he go to Newsmax? Will he crawl back up Satan's fiery beehole from whence he came? We don't know. One of the most despicable mother Tuckers ever to appear on American television.
It's so weird because I didn't hear anything about like the dangers to democracy of deplatforming someone whose opinion you didn't agree with in any of that. Isn't that weird? Isn't that strange? It's almost like these people have absolutely no morals and no values. They just want to use your morals and your values against you. Let's move over to blogger Matthew Iglesias, who just said yesterday, Brendan Carr killed the First Amendment on Constitution Day. Oh, is this Oh, hold on. Let me check. Yes, it is the same guy back in 2021 who said it's kind of weird that deplatforming Trump just like completely worked with no visible downside whatsoever. Oh, interesting. Let's move over to Harry Sisson, of course, allegedly on the payroll of the DNC, infamous Democrat Gen Zer. We are witnessing the most brazen attack on free speech in modern American history. Elon, Trump, and MAGA said they were free speech warriors. It's the exact opposite. Now, I want to really quickly. We are witnessing the most brazen attack on free speech in modern American history. I would say that was when Charlie Kirk got killed for speaking. I would say that that's when Charlie Kirk got a bullet in his neck and died. I would call that the most brazen attack on free speech in modern American history. Okay? But on top of that, how did he feel about Trump's deplatforming? Happy 1-year anniversary, Donald Trump, banned from Twitter. These people are so ghoulish. They want to lie, and they want to use these values that they think are important to you, even though they don't care about the First Amendment. They don't care about free speech. These are the same people who were perfectly fine with the Biden regime going in and telling Mark Zuckerberg over at Facebook, you need to censor these people's posts. You need to censor anyone talking about the Hunter Biden laptop. Jack, what's his name, that used to run Twitter. You need to take people off of Twitter if they say masks don't work. These are all people who loved all of that. And now all of a sudden they want to tie Donald Trump to something that he's not related to because their beloved comedian was not funny. They had no problem with Donald Trump being censored into oblivion, even after he announced that he was running for president. He was a political candidate. And now all of a sudden, but Jimmy Kimmel's a comedian. There's no punchline, and you don't get to lie on a public broadcasting station with impunity. Sorry, not sorry. By the way, I recognize that when you guys were in power last time, all you did was try to censor us. When you ever, God forbid, you ever get power again, I already know you're not going to waste any time. So you take your unfunny comedian, I hear he has a lot of free time now, and you let him go build whatever the hell he would like to build, but you don't get to lie with impunity on public broadcasting airwaves. So go cry harder, commies. And by the way, while you're at it, maybe you should learn what the First Amendment actually protects you from. Because you don't have a right to go on television and spew lies. You don't have a right to be unfunny and get shitty ratings and then be like, but Donald Trump fired me from my show. Sorry. You don't get to do that. All right. Want to bring in my panel next. One of whom, again, I said, is a comedian and one of my very dear friends. And I would like to ask him, where the is the punchline? Want to thank our sponsor, Jase Medical. I don't know if you guys realize this. September is National Preparedness Month. And so this is a great reminder to always be ready for whatever comes our way next. Not that there could ever be a pandemic that would shut down the entire supply chain and then leave you without your very needed emergency medication. Oh, well, that's where the Jase case comes in. All right. It is good to be prepared. We always talk about preparedness. People have food supply, but they don't think about medicine. But what the Jase case does is it gives you 10 emergency medications and prescription antibiotics shipped directly to your door so you are ready ahead of time. Just in case anything could happen, you've got it to use. They've also got Jase Daily, which includes up to 12 months supply of your chronic medications. So I'm just telling you guys, now's the time. Be prepared. Go to jase.com. Use promo code Sarah for a discount on your order. That is jase.com, promo code Sarah. Welcome to the show. It's been too long since comedian Alex Stein has been on, of course, host of Primetime with Alex Stein, but also one of my very good friends. And it's good to have you back.
I know, now I feel bad. I'm like pointing at the camera, but I just, it's always a pleasure to be here, but it just sucks the circumstances that we're going through, that everybody's going through. So, it's hard to kind of be funny, but at the same time, I think Charlie would want us to,
Charlie would want
positive.
Us to carry, to continue marching on and carrying the torch for him. I think, of course, Alex was friends with Charlie as well. So I know this last week has been hard for you, Alex. Also, We can't forget about Eric July, Blaze TV contributor and founder of Rippaverse Comics, which all of you guys should go check out. So obviously I went through all of these liberals, leftist pieces of crap, whatever you'd like to call them. And it's like they're more outraged by Jimmy Kimmel losing his job as a comedian on ABC, potentially, than they are a man getting assassinated in broad daylight for literally no reason other than he had a difference of opinion. And I want to go to you first, Alex. I said in my last segment, everyone's like, but he's a comedian, which they didn't feel that way about Tony Hinchcliffe when he made the joke that he did about Puerto Rico. They wanted to cancel him. But more importantly, where is the punchline in what he said? That wasn't a joke.
No, sir, it wasn't a joke, and did he say something that was like super egregious? No, it just wasn't the right time or place. And Jimmy knows that, so I think he's...
It was a lie.
Well, yeah, no, he misrepresented who was the attacker, of course, because he's the one, he said, scoring political points. He was the one actually trying to score political points. So he was just being very hypocritical. But there's actually, I think, more to it, and I don't want to get too conspiratorial, but they say he just got off vacation for 3 months. And this is a real thing, is that he's been wanting a way out, and that it's hard when you have a staff of 50 people like he does to just be like, hey, you guys are all fired. But it's a lot easier if you're the victim, because you're exactly right. It's like this victimhood mentality. Why do people care more about Jimmy Kimmel than seeing the most tragic political leader, in the last generation get shot and murdered in, public like that? It's weird that they would be more sympathetic to Jimmy Kimmel, who's a millionaire who literally probably doesn't even want to do the job that he's currently doing because he just got off vacation for 3 months. So it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, and I wondered if there was not an understanding, like they did a handshake and were like, hey, you're going to say this joke and then we're going to axe you. Because I think that it was a little bit more organic than that from Nexstar and from...
I think that was organic, yeah.
Yeah, that was organic. And then what's the other one that I'm missing that piled on afterwards? Sinclair. Sorry.
Sinclair. Oh, then that's what Keith Olbermann sent that disgusting tweet about that. Keith Olbermann's such a piece of crap.
Well, but I did wonder, because if Jimmy Kimmel had lower ratings than Stephen Colbert, and Stephen Colbert got axed because they were spending way too much freaking money for the ratings that he was getting, because those were already low, how do you sustain? I mean, Alex is talking about there's, 50 people who work on his show, if not more. By the way, I read a funny tweet that was like, all of you guys who are happy about Jimmy Kimmel being fired from ABC are forgetting that there's a bunch of writers and producers and bookers, and we should be happy about them getting fired too.
That's funny.
That's true, because presumably that joke went through multiple different layers before it hit Jimmy Kimmel's teleprompter, which I have to believe that he reads. But what say you about all of this?
Yeah, I think that this was, at least, look, I don't know all the information. I mean, it's going to start to develop this rather story. But for me, it looks like they, whether being it with ABC, were looking for a way out from under this whole deal. And that was just more or less the excuse. Yes, it was not the right time to say that. We know that he has been very stoked with other people losing their jobs as well as being deplatformed, namely Trump and, of course, Tucker Carlson. People have watched that video, throwback when Tucker got fired from Fox, and he was as giddy as I don't know what.
Made it, yeah.
Celebrating.
Yeah.
All right, so hypocrisy aside, I believe that he was making like $16 million, something like that a year, and I don't think that's including the rest of the show. They were not making a return. They're not getting a return on any of those late night shows. None of them are. So I think two things can be true. Obviously, the FCC, which people know I'm not a big supporter of those guys, could be applying pressure to them, while they also were like, "This is our ticket out from under this guy. Let's just go ahead and get him suspended," because they were not getting a return. Nobody believes that they were getting a return on a show that they were paying the guy $16 million for. There's no way they were getting that in advertisements.
I would just like to state for the record, here at The Blaze, we have no concept of making that much money.
Not even close.
Right? Like, people hear this and they're like, oh, everyone who's on TV must make all that money. No. I hear that and I want to throw up. Because I'm like,
not even close.
Good God. And he had a team of 50 people? My God, what is that like? And he still it up? Jeez.
And, he like hired all of his family members too, so they're all out of a job. He's famous for hiring all of his family members.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah, he's good friends with Howard Stern.
I thought he was famous for just being unfunny.
No, and it's crazy that he didn't get in trouble for blackface. He wore blackface as Karl Malone. Yeah.
Actually, we have that. Let's go ahead. Let's play that.
Yeah.
Sometime at night, Karl Malone look up in the sky and say, "What the hell going on up there? Do UFO live on other planet, phoning home like E.T.?" Karl Malone read on TV about white people getting deducted by aliens, sticking all kind of hell up their butt, and that's a damn thing. Now, Karl Malone never seen no flying saucer himself, but if he do, that's going to be a spooky time. That's why Karl Malone say government got to step up
enough.
and give 102%.
I noticed that neither of you were laughing as this was going because it.
Well, the dark story behind Karl Malone, one of the greatest NBA players of all time.
What's the dark story?
He had sex with a 12. Was she 12? She
like
had the baby at like
12 or 13
or something like that.
What?
Yeah, and then
Denied it for a very long time.
And then the kid made it to the NFL.
You're kidding.
Twins too. So it's like, yeah, it's all jacked up. Karl Malone.
And he never went to prison?
No, because he was like the greatest player in Louisiana history. They just didn't want to get him in trouble. I guess the parents. Yeah, he was like such a good basketball player in college. Yeah. They let him, and he was from small town Louisiana. That's not okay at all. But it's a different time, different place, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah, and so this all came out because his son became. So I don't really care that he's making fun of Karl Malone, but at the end of the day,
it is blackface, and I'm told. There are people who have had their whole lives canceled because they ever wore blackface.
Yeah, and then they love it when they find like somebody that tweets the N-word from 10 years ago on draft night and try to ruin his night. So, listen, this is cancel culture, whether people want to admit it or not. There's just different variations and shades of it.
Now, I will say, because Eric, being the libertarian at the table. The FCC does have, I know Brendan Carr, I wish I had it in front of me, and this stupid tablet, Steven, it takes forever to load anything. But I was reading an ex post from Brendan Carr, and he was explaining that there are certain public broadcasting stations that do have requirements to be in the public interest, and that it's not in the public interest to stand there and lie to the American public and say that this guy was a MAGA guy, which appeared to me was what Jimmy Kimmel was saying. So
no, it's exactly what he said.
I don't believe that Brendan Carr, there was no orchestration by President Trump who was like, pressure them. And then Brendan Carr pressured them. And then they were like, all right, fine, we'll give. But I also think, you know what? I'm tired of living in a place where for 4 years we watched the Biden regime weaponize every single facet of the federal government against us. I kind of would be all for Brendan Carr saying, no, you know what? You can't lie with impunity anymore on any of these broadcasting stations. You can't lie. If you lie, we're going to pull your license, because it has nothing to do with the First Amendment. You can go lie somewhere else. But if you guys have a deal with the FCC and the FCC is running these, there are certain stations. Go to another station, I guess, if you want to lie. You know what I mean? So, I
think of it less like that. I mean, look, I think the FCC, should be eliminated. Glenn was talking about this as well, and he agrees with me on it. But the issue that I have more so with it is that, look, all of those guys are freaking liars. All of them are, for the most part. They've been lying all through this administration and before. The reason why people aren't going to fall over each other to try to come to the defense for Jimmy Kimmel, it doesn't matter if they're like, oh, well, isn't this cancel culture? It's because they sat here and watched their side be punished over the last 10 years, time and time and time and time again. They watched also, most importantly, their president with lawfare efforts.
91 indictments.
Yes, exactly. So nobody's going to care. And I think what's happening now is that the quote-unquote right is like, look, we recognize y'all fight dirty, so we don't care anymore what happens to you. Now we wield the power, and this is the only way that y'all have seemed to, let's say, start to act right, is when we start playing by the rules of engagement that you
guys set.
That you guys set. So from a strategic standpoint, I can understand, let's say that, where people are coming from and feeling that way. Not a fan of the FCC. Don't think they should be pressuring anybody. My opinion, they should be eliminated. And ABC, unless you want to actually come to terms with the fact that you're losing money on this project, you keep sinking money in it, and Jimmy Kimmel keep losing it. I don't care one way or the other. My argument has been, I want the quote unquote right to be as motivated, as mobilized to start supporting alternative efforts so we can replace these crack smokers as they are the more culturally influential people, because they absolutely have the ABCs and the Disneys and all of the entertainment that we consume and everything else. I say to hell with that. We don't need to try to retake it. We don't need to try to get the government involved. Let them fail on our own, and let's start diverting our attention elsewhere. That's been my argument.
One good thing is, now you saw that clip where Van Jones is basically defending hate speech. So maybe now that they get a taste of their own medicine,
hate speech is fine now.
They'll defend the First Amendment.
Right, yeah. Well, another thing that's been funny watching them fall over backwards about is like, now boycott Disney. Because of course Disney owns ABC, and ABC is the one who's suspended.
Everybody with a good time.
Like, but yeah, boycott Disney. We're like, oh, is this all it took for you guys to agree to boycott Disney? Because we've been advocating that for a really long time. I'm all in. Let's do that more. Let's go ahead and play. I would be remiss if I didn't play Jimmy Kimmel. You know, again, it couldn't have happened to a more deserving person, because this is a man who spewed very, very nasty things about half the country. And you also, personally, if you didn't take the COVID vaccine, here's what he had to say.
Hospitals get any more overcrowded, they're going to have to make some very tough choices about who gets an ICU bed. That choice doesn't seem so tough to me. Vaccinated person having a heart attack? Yes, come right on in. We'll take care of you.
Actually,
unvaccinated guy who gobbled horse goo?
They would.
Rest in peace, Wheezy.
Easy. Yeah.
That's who they're up in arms about. I'm like, I don't feel sorry for this guy. He wasn't funny. He was actually very, very, he spewed very nasty things about half the country. And by the way, for those on the right who still don't understand what time it is, still have not woken up to what the left is doing to us and trying to do to us the moment they get power again, they're like, but if we do it, they'll do it next time they're in power. It's like, bro, did you live?
They already did that.
Did you live the last 4 years?
Good point.
Did you, they've already done it. Wake up, understand what time it is. You can't fight against it. You can't play in a game where you guys are like, we always got to play by the rules. And the other side is like, the rules. I'm just going to do whatever I want. Do you think you're ever going to win in that game? Of course not. And I'm not reducing this to a game, but the point is like, they've already done it. Yeah. We're already there. Do you want to fight back or not? That's all I'm saying.
Well, I do like, though, back to the point even that Van Jones says, he says that these media companies should be fighting against the government. And, if it encourages them to do that, which I don't think it will, but with the pandemic, they did whatever the government told them. Mm-hmm. So it's just more a taste of their own medicine, and they don't like it just like we didn't like it.
Yeah. All right, let me go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be back with more, but we want to thank our sponsor of this segment, Fatty 15. No, I didn't just call you fat. I'm actually talking about, this is C15 from Fatty 15. It's a first emerging essential fatty acid, the first one to be discovered in more than 90 years, actually. So it supports your long-term health, supports wellness, and also helps you age healthy. Yes, that's what we all want, right? And so it's 100% pure C15 supplement, vegan-friendly, free of flavors, allergens, or preservatives. I don't know how many vegans we have that are watching this show, but Alex likes that.
Mm-hmm, I do. I'm the plant-based pimp. So
yeah, so he really appreciates that it is
no animals are harmed in this.
No animals are harmed. Now, it does have 3 times more cellular benefits than omega-3 or fish oil. No fish is harmed. See, Alex?
Yeah.
See? No fish is harmed.
That's great.
Clinically proven to raise C15 levels, resulting in lower cholesterol, healthier liver function, improved gut microbiome health, and improved red blood cell health within 3 months. Go check them out. You can go to fatty15.com/Sarah. Use promo code Sarah at checkout. You can get an additional 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit as well. Fatty15.com/Sarah, promo code Sarah. All right, let me read you the latest social media post from President Trump. I am pleased to inform our many USA patriots that I am designating Antifa, a sick, dangerous, radical left disaster, as a major terrorist organization. I will also be strongly recommending that those funding Antifa be thoroughly investigated in accordance with the highest legal standards and practices. And of course, thank you for your attention to this matter. Antifa, finally, we're calling these people what they really are, which is domestic terrorists. And I've had my fair share, sadly, of run-ins with Antifa. You've had your fair share of run-ins with Antifa, Eric. I'm sure you have as well. I will recall, Alex, when we were in Denton, Texas, several years ago, we were like...
Drag Queen Story Hour.
It was Drag Queen Story Hour at a place called Patchouli Joe's, or they were reading to young children.
An old school bookstore that had been there for a long time.
And Antifa was out there protecting them. And I remember, like, we were making fun of them. And they looked like they were cosplaying. And
the guy, Ben Song.
That's what I was about to say. And then later we found out that the guy that I was taking pictures in front of mocking him, Benjamin Song, was like on the run. He was a dangerous fugitive not that long ago.
He shot at an ICE agent, and this guy had a gun at the event, and we were trolling him. Now it just seems way more intense. You know?
I mean, genuinely, I was like, God, I thought these guys were cosplaying. And no, I know Antifa is dangerous, but... You think that the ones that you see on the street that are wearing the goggles and all this, you're like, oh, okay, buddy. No, they're really serious. They're really serious, and they meet up and they train, and this is like all part of their master plan.
Well, I guess maybe I just underestimated humanity. Like, I can get why, like, maybe like you would catch your wife cheating on you. You might get mad. You might want to murder somebody or something like that. But I'm saying, and I'm not even thinking that it's excusable in that sense, but like to want to murder a stranger is a special kind of evil. I just don't understand the motivation, and maybe I'm just too naive, but like that Benjamin Song guy that was there that went and shot an ICE agent, like, why would you even want to kill a random ICE agent? How would that make you feel any better about yourself? Like, I wouldn't even be able to, live with myself if I was responsible for the death of somebody. And I'm not saying that's a virtue signal. That's just how I would honestly feel. And I don't know how that's not the same feeling for 99.999% of the
Well, I think because you can't relate, because we're talking about a group of people who have been captured by these Marxists who have infiltrated in all of these different, industries, education system, everywhere, the medical system. So you have these vulnerable people who are looking for an outlet, and then they get it in this group, and they're taught all of these things, and they feel like they belong, and they get sucked into it, I think. And that's not to absolve them of personal responsibility. I just think that, like, you can't relate because you're like a healthy, well-adjusted person.
And that's not even the case. I'm very I'm not at all that, and I still have the ability to understand that. Like, I wouldn't want to kill a stranger.
That's pretty stupid of me to say.
Even like Charlie Kirk, like I'm sure that person felt like they knew Charlie Kirk because there's thousands of hours, but like they still are a stranger. Like, Charlie Kirk is not going to really affect their life, and then they hate him so much they want to take him out. It's hard for me to kind of even comprehend that evil exists, but I know it does. I mean, it's obvious.
Right, exactly.
Oh yeah, it exists. It's just far more widespread. I think the actual issue is that they just don't operate on the same set of like morals and ethics that we do. And I think anybody, even those that are rough around the edges like myself and you, Alex, like we understand that, and we can empathize with that, which is why we can come to that conclusion. Unfortunately, them, as you see, a lot of them have been dancing and celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. You see just how we're not the same. Mm-hmm. We're not even on the same like planet. It feels like
it's almost like they're aliens.
Yeah, it's almost like what you think of humanity, right? Just even among our disagreements, they don't abide by that. Like that's something ethically they just can't really understand. Which is why they're not only okay with carrying out such evil acts, but celebrating when others do it. And that's what makes this whole thing, scary. And this is what the result. This is the ultimate kind of end game. I think what happened with Charlie, not to say that all of them are advocates of it. What I'm saying is that's the extreme nature of what's happening. You've dehumanized an entire group of people, right? You've pumped these young people with a lot of just absolute false information, talked about them and discussed them as if they are the devil. So what happens? Well, that person, definitely when they're young and impressionable, like Tyler idiot was, right? Despite how he was raised, young guy gets involved with the wrong group of freaks, yep. and then he comes out thinking the way that he does, and it's like, well, I'm told to hate this guy. He's spreading hate, and therefore I have to deal with hate, right? And that's how they rationalize. It's not really rational by any means. It's almost antithetical to that, but in their minds, it makes sense to them. So when you have a group of these guys, they're all over the place, right? Just look to you can open TikTok the day that he was murdered, and you can see it yourself how many of them it actually are. So I think that was the wake up call for so many people. even those of us that have seen and interacted with these types of people over the years, it was still eye-opening even for me, because I'm like, damn, it's not like some sock account. It's not some Annan. These are people that are putting their faces on social media behind saying all of this disgusting stuff, and they fear zero consequence. Mm-hmm. They're the ones that think that they are the righteous ones. So whether they call themselves Antifa or whatever, it doesn't really matter. You know that you're dealing with a special type of evil, and it's here. It's been here. Unfortunately, it's a bunch of folks that have been born here.
Yeah. And they were very, I think, smart, forward-thinking to deem their name Antifa.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Even though they're not anti-fascist.
Exactly. But that's what they say, well, we're fighting fascism. We're anti-fascism. How could you not agree with us? It's just like Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, that's what the leftist...
How could you not agree with us?
What's his name? I can't really think of his name off the top of my head, but the leftist podcast guy nephew of Cenk.
Hassan.
Yeah, but what he's
his nephew?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's what he goes on about, where he's like, well, because they've labeled this Antifa, therefore they're just going after guys that are anti-fascist.
Right.
It's just like, to your point, Black Lives Matter. How could you be against that? Do you not think black people's lives do not matter?
Exactly.
That's the whole, they do that with bills. Democrat leaders do that with bills. They name a bill, throw a bunch of bullshit in it, but it's the anti-lynching bill, right? Wait a minute, you against this? Are you not against lynching? Or you think that, well, wait a minute, federally, that's already been illegal anyway. What are you talking about? Oh, wait a minute. It's a bunch of other stuff that you put in here. They're very purposeful in how they operate when they do that sort of weird stuff. And that's why they do it. So it's to say, when we oppose them, wait a minute, aren't you against fascism? No, what I'm saying is that I may be against fascism. I'm saying you also are a fascist. These guys are absolutely pro-merging corporate with state. It's all communism is, actually, right? We think of dictatorship of the proletariat. That's all it ever was anyway. So no, they're not anti-fascist by any means.
No.
Well, and Donald Trump should be able to easily, find these people, because they're funded.
Telling on themselves.
DSA, Democratic Socialists of America, and the same people that go to these protests, so it really shouldn't be that tough of a case to crack. I think Dan and Cash should be able to handle that one.
Well,
I hope. I don't know.
I would think, Alex. We'll see about that. All right, we got to take another quick break. We'll be right back. Now, before we have to go, I'd like to present to you, remember, the new face of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett, and her latest dumb shit, I guess.
And I do think that I'm in a unique situation, because I was having the conversations with people that were going out and committing crimes. And so I understood what was kind of pushing them there. And so I do want people to know that just because someone has committed a crime, it doesn't make them a criminal. That is completely different. Being a criminal is more so about your mindset. Committing a crime can come for a lot of different reasons.
Listen, you think someone commits a crime, they're a criminal. Not so. So if I'm following her logic, you could be a criminal just by your mindset. Just by thinking it.
You just need to identify as a law-abiding citizen. You can break the law, but if you identify as a law-abiding citizen, it's fine. That's how you identify.
That's a great point.
Yeah. If a boy can cut off their thing and become a girl, then I'm sure a criminal can identify as a non-criminal and become, congresswoman.
About your mindset. Your mindset. You want to assault someone, you want to kill them, you want to shoplift, you want to do whatever. It really doesn't matter as long as your mindset is right.
Again, just stupid. Not from Dallas, by the way. She's not.
But she is our representative.
She's our rep. She's unfortunately our representative, but she is not.
You're not even from here.
You're not from here. Not even close. Not from Texas even. But that said, what really makes this so bizarre is that, sure, you could make the argument that someone's not a criminal and after they committed a crime, but it has nothing to do with your mindset. I mean, I look at that more of if someone's doing it perpetually, right? That's a criminal. But I guess all the laws in the book, someone can technically, by what the government claims is a crime, right? You know what I mean? You could stumble across, oh shit, I didn't know that was illegal, though that's not an excuse to them. You get what I'm saying, but that's not what she said. She's all talking about mindset. I've talked to these people. And she's one of those clowns that try to justify people's bad behavior by probably talking about the socioeconomic factors and all this stuff that may lead someone into a life of crime, as if they are the ones that is the victim or are the victims. And that's to me is the problem with how America approaches private property rights is that you have a bunch of clowns that go, at every turn, try to justify everybody's bad behavior. And just instead of just simply saying, that's wrong, you shouldn't have done it, and we're done here, right? You what you did was wrong. There's going to be a consequence to that. Not, he was raised in South Dallas, Texas, and you fell into the wrong crowd, and it's actually everybody else's fault that you became a criminal.
Yeah, it reminds me of Alex's favorite big booty Latina when she said that people were just looting because they just needed bread.
Oh God,
yeah.
Remember that?
Well, this is why there's actually more to it. It's like the drug dealing paradox, where people can justify being a crack dealer because they are selling crack just like Pfizer is selling drugs, just like the pharmaceuticals are selling drugs. So being a drug dealer, selling marijuana, that I'm sure she would think that was medicine. So she's, she would probably justify a weed dealer the same as she would like Pfizer or any other pharmaceutical company. So she has kind of a different perception that we have, and maybe everybody here at this table has. And she's probably mildly retarded. So, that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day.
I think she went to the same law school as Kamala and Fani Willis and maybe someone else. But I'm like,
sitting in their best.
Right. Like, we're just passing those things out like candy, I guess. You get a law degree, you get a law degree, you get a law degree, because they're all really retarded.
Well, but in our school system, like, there's people that have, like, autism that can excel in doing, like, laborious school assignments, right? So she can probably do a school assignment, a book report, but that doesn't mean that she's actually smart.
Okay, but hold on.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying.
But autistic people are not retarded.
But you know what I mean?
She is not as smart as a lot of autistic people that I know.
Well, there's like
you, for instance.
Exactly. But she probably is like, I don't even want to call her book smart, 'cause she doesn't sound like she's ever read a book, but like she can probably do law school, and then the fact that she's African American, gives her like 10 legs up, and the fact that she's a woman gives her like 20 more. And that's just how it is, that she gets a DEI, just like
she said, by the way, remember, she said she told her first boss to hire her because she was a black woman. So she was admitting to the DEI.
Which, really helping out marginalized black people is not like bad in theory, but it's just when like Kamala Harris becomes, vice president, you're like, this has gone too far.
No, it is bad. It is bad in theory. Everyone should earn something based on their merit.
Of course, a meritocracy is better, but that's not the real system that we live in. People want to try to pretend like it's a meritocracy. We don't live in that. We live in more of a society that's like based on nepotism and a lot of other stuff. Hard work is really the key factor, I think, to success, especially in this country. If you work hard, I think Eric's a good example of that. You can be successful, and even Jasmine.
Yeah, but Eric only got successful because he's black.
But I'm saying Jasmine Crockett's probably not that smart, but she probably did work hard.
I will say this. I think maybe Jasmine is smarter than we give her credit for at times, because she is cosplaying as this, ghetto queen. Yeah.
She doesn't talk like that.
No, not for real. So in that regard, maybe she is smart. All right, make sure to follow Alex Stein on social media, watch his show, and of course, Eric July, ripaverse.com, and we will see you guys tomorrow.